Happy Christmas, one and all. It's SJJ and I together again on Koraniyule 2025. So a year has passed, and I guess we've all got more news for you with SJJ's SJJ Mass. I haven't watched all of them, but here he is, the man himself.
Thank you for having me, Click. Or we're back again together on Christmas Day. What a wonderful tradition it's become.
Nothing better to do. Uh, but that's good. We
Christmas
have.
Day is the most boring day of the year. Can I be the first to just declare this? Everywhere is closed. There's just old things on the television. I don't watch television anyway, but once you've got the family things done, and I tend to like to go see people early on, get it out of the way, go have the Christmas dinner, and then by mid-afternoon it's nap time. Maybe I'm just getting old. Maybe I'm just getting old, but it's nap time, and then like, right, what is there to do?
Well, I did have a snooze after Christmas dinner,
Yes,
so
me too.
I'm all refreshed and everything. So,
Good.
did you by any chance? Is it part of your Christmas tradition to listen to the King's speech?
No, it's not. I saw a clip of it, so I did not
Yeah,
see it.
I thought it was better presented this year and even more uncontroversial than it ever was,
Mm.
if that was its intention, which of course it must be, to not
Mm.
say anything that might annoy anyone. But it
Mm.
seems to have done the job.
Yeah,
So
I've
how
heard
has
some people don't like
SJJ
it.
Matt's been going?
SJ
I
James has gone okay.
good,
It's gone
good.
good. Done about 11 episodes, including 2 with you, where we just laughed at millennial woes. We cannot do the show this year where we review Millennial because I have not watched any of it.
Same here, same here.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I did
that
try to dip in, but it was kind of dull. But
oh,
maybe I didn't give it
so
enough of a
bad.
chance.
The aesthetic is all dark, gloomy this year. It's not appealing. Yeah, just no
But
interest.
perhaps we'll make a. Yeah. I mean, I listened to a few and I could tell that he was bored with this guest. You know, you sort of look at his expression and
Hmm.
you think, he is bored too. But I
Hmm.
think sorry, not obituary. What am I talking about? Memoriam.
Memorial
I think
stream.
it's 28th. Might be worth watching because it's new.
Yeah, but then it's most likely. I hate to be the guy to say this again, but it's most like I'm always the one picking on millennial woes. But it's most likely to be the cringiest stream, and that'll be an unpopular opinion. But just to say all the nice things about people who've died. I mean,
Yeah. But I mean, since it's a new feature, which
hmm,
is, I suppose it deserves a review if we're going to, do it properly. And if there's anything we
hmm.
need to watch, I guess it's that new thing, which I
Well,
suppose we can manage up, in our busy lives, right?
can I just get ahead of it, right? Ahead of if I disappear and you find out that I've died tomorrow and Claire Core will naturally run the memorial stream for SJJ, well, I just want to bring on everybody who wants to shit on me. I do not want some kind of hug fest where people go, oh, wasn't SJJ lovely? And what did you do about this? And any of that nonsense at all.
Well, I'm sure somebody will manage to say something nice about either you or me. And if it's not very nice, I hope it's witty or funny.
Yeah.
But I suppose at every stage of our lives, we hope to have a suitable epitaph we will not shame us, at any time we were to fall into a grave, so to speak.
It's quite funny to speaking of death. There is what we do is part of a new an internet phenomenon. We're micro streamers, but this kind of format of the normal person vlogging, like doing this video streaming thing, was one of the original ones. Was a guy called Adam the Woo in America, and he used to do, for like the last decade, he's done daily vlogs with his camera. He was on camera. He lived in Florida, Celebration, Florida, and he would just film his life. He would just film a video of whatever he did during the day, and he
Oh,
would try to make it interesting. So he would go, because he was in Florida, he would visit theme parks. He would travel around America. He would, just all kinds of things like this. He would literally do one every day, apart from a few where he's missed out over the years. And so it was easy watching, cozy vibes, because I'm interested in America. I've watched a lot of them. Like, I'm going to Florida, so I've watched a lot of his streams recently to think about things that I'd like to do over there. And a couple of days before Christmas, at 51 years old, he dropped dead. He just didn't wake up a few days
yeah.
ago. So, went to sleep and didn't wake up.
Oh, it was only a few days ago.
Yes, a few days ago. Yeah, it's big news right now.
Wow. When
It's kind of
people
struck me,
die like that, you sort of like think, there might be a short illness, you know. But because I suppose that's the best way. You don't want to be lingering on until people don't know if you're still alive or dead or whatever. But I think, I know some people say, I just like to fall asleep and never wake up. But you think, well, it's a bit abrupt and maybe inconsiderate to, anyone who might care, So I suppose that the best one
Well,
would be, you know, death after a short illness.
definitely short if it's going to be an illness. But goodbyes are terrible. I hate them. So if I am going to go, it would be like that I would like it to happen, or like hit by a bus or something like that. Out of the blue, illness
Oh,
sucks. Illness absolutely sucks. I've seen people through protracted illness. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. Pray to go out with a bang, like, a bang in your head or a bang in the heart or a bang from a bus. That's really probably, if you could pick it, the best way to go. Just bump for everybody involved, and it's the most impactful, like in a narcissistic sense. If you want to actually impact people, like
well,
everybody's
I suppose an
shocked.
unnatural death would be the most impactful because then you lose all. I'm thinking of Rob Reiner. So last night I was
Yes.
reading through all the comments that they made about him, and there's this sort of kind of ghoulish thing like, oh, we shouldn't talk about that. We should leave the family in peace, and then they start talking about all the other stuff. So, um, but yes, an
I've re-
unnatural death would be the worst in my view.
yeah, I've actually. Why don't I share my screen? I'll just show you who we're talking about. It's um here. Let me just share my screen. Actually, it's impacted me quite a lot. Um, there, I'm sharing my screen. There is, look, YouTuber Adam the Woo dead at 51 years old.
He doesn't even look that old.
No, he doesn't.
Gosh, he looks in his 40s.
Yeah.
Oh my
And there's all
god.
these people. Look, I lost my best friend mentally. I can't believe Adam the Woo is gone. I love you, Adam. You know, he was just a normal guy. Adam the Woo saved my life. Our friend has died 5 hours ago. Crushed.
Hmm.
YouTuber Adam the Woo. Death. You know, the world has lost a giant. People are saying, you know, he's just a normal guy. It shows how people can like impact someone. And if we look at his channel here, I watched. You can see a lot the red. I don't know if you can see the red bar. Look, I was watching those videos. Some of these. This one, his
Mm-hmm.
trip here.
Mm-hmm.
These ones. See, used to watch quite a lot of his videos. So, and his last one. Um, one before, just like a few days ago. Yeah. I'll just mute this.
That's an ad, isn't it?
Of my own app.
Yeah, but
Welcome, everyone. Adam the Woo here, as the recording of this Thursday, December 18th, also known as exactly 1 week till Christmas Day. I'm back in Celebration, Florida for my international travels, just a couple days shy of being gone a month. And I am happy, and it is good to be home.
and he's gone. Just went to sleep and didn't wake up. So it just shows you how fleeting. You know, it brings you. You know, this is why I am hell bent at the moment on reminding people not to waste life. Life is fleeting. You know, most people are sat around just wasting it, doing nothing. And most people will, like, in 10 years' time, look back and think, I didn't achieve anything over those last 10 years. And, you know,
Yeah. Or at least decide on a direction. Or yeah, and kind of or move towards it. Or be known for somebody who said he had a direction, even if he didn't, get there. I think it's so important to give meaning. It's like, well, this person tried to do this thing, but didn't quite do it. But at least he tried. We know that he was, known for trying to do this or that thing. But
yeah, treat every
what do you
day as
think
if it's
woo
your last.
means?
So the question, it was just something he came up with. Apparently, it meant nothing. He just came up with it one day. Adam the Woo,
Right,
and
because
it
when
stuck.
George says it, what he says woo woo, doesn't
It
he?
means
You've
the
had George on
supernatural.
your, yeah, or spiritual.
Yes. But I think it's just a moniker that stuck with him. So,
Yeah. It's also a Chinese surname, in case anyone's interested.
yes.
So he was just a regular guy. He didn't do anything. I mean,
Regular
it's
guy.
literally his diary. Yeah.
His
Yeah.
diary, he started it about his normie life. And then, because people were interested and were tuning in, then he made his life more interesting to do things for the videos. So he would travel around a lot, go and visit different places. And, you know, it was just very cozy. You know, like
So
he
did
just
he
did
have
a
a
trip to
girlfriend?
Europe. I don't know any of that.
Oh, he didn't talk about these things because there are some YouTubers who kind of make a
No,
drama out of their life, like this other
no,
guy you
he didn't talk
introduced
about
me
it.
to. Well, not
Oh,
literally.
Daniel.
Yes.
He's disappeared.
Well, occasionally it pops up, but I sort of
Yes.
don't watch anymore. But
No.
well, he's
He's
interesting because he's Malaysian or half Malaysian. He's Eurasian. His father is British, but
yes.
he's. I mean, he really does take it to the max, doesn't he? About giving us details of his life.
Yeah, well that's the other the other type of YouTuber monetizing your misery basically and your like your antisocial life and for the world to see, flay it open and allow others to
Or even
like
make it up.
or even make it up. Yeah, like I was saying to you, don't know what's real and what's not with him.
Well, it must be terrible for one's identity, I think, if you feel you have to make up lies and then the
Yeah.
lies become more real than your real
Hmm.
life.
Yeah. I mean, with him, it's part of he learnt to clickbait his viewers basically and monetize his audience and things like that. But yeah, sorry, I've got a cough. But yeah, what a terrible thing to have to do that for money and just to get by, I suppose.
Well, it's a sophisticated form of begging, and,
Yes.
and and this takes us back to millennial, I suppose.
Just speaking of that fake thing, so do you know? I don't know if I've ever expressed this. I have throughout my life forever felt. Have you heard of imposter syndrome?
It's this idea that you don't deserve your success,
Yes, I
that you're
have had.
somehow an imposter.
I have always had imposter syndrome at every. I think at every level. Like fighting or winning medals or and then even I'm or getting and I still ask myself to this day, am I is it deserved? Am I was I always an imposter? Like getting a black belt, and it doesn't help, by the way, that there are legitimate reasons to believe this because like getting a black belt at 11 years old, the majority of people say, well, that's not a real black belt. So, this, I look back and well, am I an imposter? Did I deserve it? Blah, 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 blah. And then now I'm like, successfully have managed to, rapidly turn around my finances, get my life in monetary order. I'm, within a year, I have a new interest and hobby that is, vastly improving my material life. And again, I'm struck with this. What do how have you achieved this? You're like an imposter. It's really strange. I don't know if other people experience this or not, or people just think, well, I deserve everything I've got.
Well, who knows? But if you um, if you keep it for a significant time, or long enough for people to notice you have it, then yeah, that would be some sign that you did have it. And
But what did you want to talk about? The begging on millennial. Let's do that.
yes, yes. I mean, I guess as being YouTubers, that I suppose is most interesting to our audience, really.
Reparation Nation has just called me an imposter in the chat. Thanks, bro. That helps.
No, I think your popularity is because you're the kind of every Zoomer character, aren't you? You
Well, I'm not even a Zoomer, real. I am a Zoomer, but only just, like on that, just just in the Zoomer bracket. So even that's like, I feel like an imposter in that generation, even. So,
Yeah, I mean, I looked at all the generations, like silent generation, boomer, Gen X, Y, millennial.
yes.
Yeah, and then you have alpha, and the thing is, the time period, the duration is shorter and shorter and shorter.
Oh, is it? I've never
So it's
noticed
just a
that.
decade. Yeah, because the silent generation is basically, our grandparents, our parents, before World War II, and after that the change accelerated to, and now it's going even faster. And people talk about the generation gap, even between siblings,
I always
because
thought a generation was 18 years. That's how they measured it.
I was told by my revenue law lecturer that it was 16 years, because 16 is the age where you are legally allowed to have children or marry. So
Okay.
So I guess it would depend on the age of consent where you are. So it'd be whatever it is. Um, but I guess the point is that the fact that you move faster and faster is all just causing so much discomfort, I think, for many people. But then this idea of stop the world, I want to get off. It's actually a movie or musical or something. I can look it up if you want, but this was said way back in the 20th century. When even then they were saying the world is spinning too quickly, and now
It
it's
feels like the world is getting. It feels like year. This is a cliche, but I really feel, time is running away faster as I'm getting older. I assume everybody feels this, because it is a cliche, but it's true. It just flies by. I mean, Claire Core. It feels like I mean, I've known you now for over
for
5 years.
years. Oh my
Yes,
God, it's been that long.
yes,
But I think even if we get to live to 1,000 years, we will say when the time comes, has it been a whole millennium already? How time flies. Well, we're just going to say that inevitably.
and when you're
But
young,
it
you don't
only seemed
realize.
like yesterday.
I am an old person now. Listen to the things that are coming out of my mouth. I'm saying, when you're young, it doesn't feel like this. But now I realize the world, years fly by.
Well, I think it's probably because you think I've got all these things I want to do, and so little time to do it in,
Yeah,
which makes you kind of a grown-up person with a whole
yeah.
tick list of things to do. Like I guess make your fortune in your case.
And there's not enough time. The lifespan of a human is not enough. People say to me all the time, "Oh, I don't want to live forever." What a cringe thing to want. I think I mentioned this. I meant we were talking about it on the stream the other night, and somebody wrote in the chat, "Cringe," for anybody who would want to live forever. Well, I'd like a lot longer. What a short amount of time. Like, 80 or 90 years is on planet Earth, of healthy lifespan. What a short amount of time. It's not enough. I'd like 200 years, please, to get things done.
What things? What things would you like to get done?
Well, I'd like, I'd like to have started making money and grinded like I'm doing now. Not grinder, grinding. Okay, just to be clear for anybody listening, I'd have liked to have started this 10 years ago instead of now, instead of 1 year ago. I'm late to the party. I've got a late start on everybody.
Well, I suppose these days we're living longer, so maybe we just have a longer adolescence or something.
I'm lucky I've got to this point with my knees intact, though. It's why I wanted to get out of the sport when I did.
And
You
run
know,
investment seminars instead.
no, no, no. I would just like to inspire. If I could inspire, and inspire is such like, that's like taking myself too seriously. I don't think of myself that highly that I can inspire anyone. What I would like to do, if I could just make one or two other people who were in the process of wasting their like youth to middle age, and I know some people are, I know a lot of them are out there doing this right now. If I could just make some of them also realize time is not an infinite resource, like we just opened with Adam the Woo, just disappearing in his sleep one night. Don't waste any more time. Make a plan. Get cracking. You're on this earth. This is your game. Okay, you are the central character. You are the player of your game. And it's time to start leveling up, for God's sake. Wouldn't it be? How wouldn't it be such a shame? And how freaking like disappointed you would be in yourself if you get to 70 or 80 years old, have achieved nothing. You look back upon wasted time that you just let fall through your fingers. You have nothing to show for it, and then you die, and you like you in this like other, you shut your eyes, you die, and in the other reality you're taking off the headset like in the Matrix or something, and you were playing a computer game all along, and you never even got to level 2. You'd be like, oh, what the flip, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I I know somebody who. Okay, you know my position, my interest in theology, and I guess I get impatient with people who are older than me and haven't quite made up their mind about what position to take on the existence of God, and it's this friend I've known for many years now, and it's still kind of traffic lights belief. So one day it would be atheist, and and then another day it would be belief in God, and and then another time it'd be agnostic. And I thought, surely, even if you don't know, and of course we don't know, um, nobody living can possibly know, and we might even die without knowing if if there is no afterlife. But the point is, you should have taken a position on it, by the time you're middle age, surely, you know, because this is something that I think theology is becoming more of a hot topic. I don't know if you feel that, if you notice that in your circles, or not really.
I don't think I have. What I can tell you, and again, this is something that will make some people cringe, perhaps even you, Claire, but I am interested in thinking about the simulation hypothesis.
What is that? What, the Matrix thing, the blue pill, red pill thing?
Yeah, in a simple way, to put it like this, it could be a technological argument for the existence of God. So, Elon Musk, whatever you might think of him, explains it like this, right? That currently, within just like the space of 25 years, computing has radically transformed from being very simplistic graphics to what we have now, which is artificial intelligence can create very realistic photoreal graphics, and that's just in the space of 25 years. The age of the universe is like 14 billion years. Imagine a civilization that has been at our level of technology plus 1 million years. Or just 100,000 years. Imagine what technology they will have created. They will have created technology where they can create simulations, they can create computerized realities that are indistinguishable from base reality. So whether you put on a headset, you plug your brain in, or whatever, you would not know the difference, basically, because technology would be that good. So the question is therefore begged.
Are you
Therefore
talking about
begs the question.
cryogenics?
No, I'm just talking about, look how good, look how good artificially created images are now. You can't tell the difference, can you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we've only had computers for like 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a civilization that's had them for 10,000 years, longer than us, of which in the galaxy there must be many, many of these civilizations. Right? There would be a civilization that began 1 million years ago due to the vastness of the universe, and will have a head start on technology on us of 1 million years, Claire. We can't even comprehend that level of technology. So this level of technology will be able to create a reality that you would not be able to distinguish from normal reality. Like, have you seen Star Trek, a holodeck on Star Trek?
Yes.
Okay, this type of thing, where you could be
What,
immersed
the
within
teleporter thing?
no, where they walk into a room and the room changes into anything that they want, and they can experience like being on a mountainside or on a beach. Okay. Okay. So, however it would be, a civilization with 1 million years head start of us would be able to create simulations that you would not be able to tell from reality. So it begs the question, then, has this already been done? And if it's already been done, are we in one of those simulations? Because the chances of us being in base reality rather than in one of these simulations that have been created billions of times already, like in the known universe, is like 1 billion to 1. We might actually just be in a simulation. We might be in a simulation inside a simulation, even.
Does this for what please you or disturb you?
It actually pleases me. People think it's a nihilistic idea, but it's not, because it means you could be literally inside a computer game with a code, with levels to unlock, and there might literally be, therefore, a creator of the said simulation, aka the god, aka, like you said, the creator. Now, I fully reject the I fully reject the stories that we've had of people who've written down that they claim to know God. You know, the texts here on earth and all this kind of stuff. I just reject these out of hand as the scribblings of either madmen or people who just wished to try and create religions for utilitarian reasons, or it was people who were having religious experiences in their mind and tried to explain it in words, but I don't put any essence in them. But on a like thought problem level, as a logic problem, as a logic puzzle, the idea that you could be in some kind of simulation, in some kind of like programmed reality, is quite exciting, actually.
But isn't the idea of, this traditional idea of the Abrahamic God and your immortal soul going to the better or worse place, isn't that just easier to
It's just
enjoy?
It's just idealistic nonsense, though, to me.
But your thing also requires some kind of creator, doesn't it?
Sure, sure.
But then in your system, we're just what, a simulation of a simulation. Well, under the Abrahamic moral and belief system, you everybody kind of gets a sort of equality and simplicity. Like the ones who are going to heaven and the ones who are going to hell.
In many ways, the idea of the simulation and people who believe in a god, they're not too far apart. Like you say, both imply something outside of this reality that, started it. That is running the simulation or running the universe. It's one and the same idea, basically. It's
Yeah,
just
but some people want it to be aliens, right? I mean, I think they hate the idea of the Abrahamic God so much that they would rather worship aliens and there's been movies, right? And Encounters of the Third Kind or something. I forget the name now with Steven Spielberg, and there's this idea of worshipping aliens, which did you watch it? Any of that?
Any of what? Sorry, any of what? I was reading chat.
Steven Spielberg made a film. Alien
Disclosure.
Encounters of the Third Kind or something. It's got a title like that. Maybe you watched it.
Close
maybe
Encounters of the Third
Close
Kind. That's a
Encounters, that's the one.
70s film. I've seen
Yeah.
it, yes.
And
Yes.
do you remember that there was a kind of idea of worshipping, this alien who's supposed to be benign? I think that's what I can remember of that.
Well, I mean, it would be natural, wouldn't it, if a vastly technological species appeared, came down to Earth, people would treat it in that way. The idea of aliens as flesh and blood creatures flying around in metal spaceships with engines on and flashing lights, I think is just sci-fi. I don't particularly believe in that, even though again, I'm going to lose people here, but even though I have seen something weird in the sky, I don't tend to believe in aliens in tin cans with engines flying across the universe, like from Mars to Earth or anything like that. I'm talking about vastly out there in the universe. We know there's billions of suns, billions of planets, billions of galaxies. Life happening here has to have natural origins, or it's a simulation. Here's the one thing, right, Claire? Right. Here's the question for people who believe in Abrahamic version of God, who is very interested in your life. So much so that he cares about, if you're Mormon, putting on the correct pants and underwear, or if you're, Jewish and Muslim, who you're going to marry, and all these kinds of things. That kind of involved God. Here's the question for them. What's the rest of the universe for? Why did he create this massive other rest of the universe? There's trillions of other galaxies out there with
I suppose
planets.
if God exists, he said, well, I created it all just to impress you.
Yeah, but we can't even get
How about
we
that
can't
for
even
an
go and look
answer?
at it. We can't even go and have a look at it.
Exactly.
What's
It's
all
so
the rest of it
impossibly
for?
vast. And then God says, well, I created that. So you better
So why
listen to
wouldn't he just
me.
create this Earth?
No, because it's like it's not enough, because then you'll be thinking of, the solar system and the sun. and then the idea of, galaxies made up of solar systems, and the universe being made out of, different galaxies. And I mean, the whole idea of the infinite vastness of of the
I
universe. But
heard
then
this
you could
argument. Sorry, I cut you off.
carry
That's
on.
my ADHD. I was just going to say, I heard this argument recently, by the way, so I'm actually repeating it. I can't remember who I just heard making it, otherwise I would give them credit for it. But it's a wonderful question to ask. If God created us and he cares about us, then what is all the other shit out there for? Why did he bother? It implies that in alone implies the natural order, the natural origin theory. There's so much other. The universe is so impossibly vast. If it was just God who was so interested in us, there wouldn't be anything else to see out there. Maybe there'd have been a couple of other planets just to give us inspiration, the moon or something, some stars for us to think about, but not the vastness of the universe. It implies the natural origin. Can aliens and simulation theory coexist, says Nonim. Yes, they can, I suppose.
Well, the Muslims call Allah the Lord of the worlds. So that kind of implies that there are other worlds that he has created. And presumably, if there are aliens from outer space, they would be subject to the same laws that I'm just sort of trying to be logical about the whole thing. If and yeah, so aliens would be subject to the same laws, and we are to deal with them using the same laws. So that's quite reassuring, don't you think?
There is something special about the arrangement of us in this solar system. With our big moon, we've got like this really big moon that's there glowing brightly in the sky. We can all see it. It's huge. It's fascinating, isn't it? Are you ever fascinated by the moon, Claire?
Well, yes, because
Okay.
it's so bright, it's so beautiful, and then there's this word
Yes.
called lunatic, which is to do with the
Yes.
moon.
Well, there's a few fascinating things here. Right. The Earth is just big enough. Right. The Earth's size is just, let's say, the Earth's size and gravity is just right to make it so that like we can exist on it, and 4 billion years, and we still have an atmosphere and all this stuff, and leading to us to appear on this Earth, and we've got this large bright moon in the sky, and the gravity on Earth is just weak enough so that like with our ingenuity, the rocket equation works, and we can build rockets to get into orbit. If gravity was just a little bit stronger, like our world was a little bit bigger, then the rocket equation wouldn't work. I don't know if anybody knows about this, but there's a certain amount of energy potential that you need to be able to like escape the Earth's gravitational pull, in simplistic terms, to be able to get out there into orbit. And if the Earth was a bit bigger, we'd never get off the Earth. There's going to be civilizations out there in the galaxy who can never get off the planet. They won't even attempt to do it because they'll try and realize it's impossible. You just can't build a rocket that can get you off the planet. You're stuck. You're limited on your planet. But us, Earth's just the right size so that we can actually, with rockets, leave the planet. And then we have this enormous target that is shining brightly in the sky, almost luring us to do it. And it's just close enough to be a point such that we could reach it. And it became the target for us to do it, so it was a goal. So it encouraged civilization to strive to achieve this goal and create this technology and build it out that has advanced humanity, in so many ways. And Kennedy in the 60s saying, we choose to do this thing not because it is easy, but because it is hard. And they did this, and the moon, and that created, this was just because it was possible. But it was only just possible. It was hard enough to be such a complex challenge that it's, created technology for us to be able to do it. And then we have this other planet that is just close enough to us, called Mars, that also has an atmosphere and is like the next challenge to go where human beings could actually go. And so it's almost like this is set up for civilization to take these logical steps towards advancing themselves as like a spacefaring civilization. Because if Mars wasn't there as a challenge, as the next challenge, that's just big enough, it's just the amount of right size, that it's got gravity for people to go and land on, and it's got an atmosphere that won't immediately crush and kill you. Like Venus isn't an option, Jupiter isn't an option. None of the other planets could be like landed on by a human being, but Mars, it's very difficult. It's far away, but it's just within the realm of being possible enough, close enough, challenging enough, but still doable to advance
Hmm.
us to like this next step. So it's almost like we're set up perfectly on this planet with these difficult but achievable challenges with enough civilizational effort to do it. And I think that's fascinating. It's almost like it couldn't have been set up more perfectly.
Yes,
Almost like a plan.
like it was meant to be.
Almost
Third
like it was
Rock from the
designed.
Sun. I believe there's some sitcom about this.
Yes.
Well, I think it's more reassuring that there was a plan than for us to just happen to be here because we happen to be here. And who
I
is to
think you're
say?
right. I think you're right, actually, about that. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that there was a plan, and that it was a benign plan.
But this is just wishful thinking. What I'm trying to do is come with my autism, like Living the Dream says, Merry Autismus. Yes, with my low level autism, I'm trying to come to a scientific, rational way with which you could justifiably conclude there is some kind of plan, rather than just wishful thinking.
Well, the point is that you cannot prove that God exists, but then on the other hand, you cannot prove that he doesn't exist. So it's not unreasonable to believe that he exists because, it's kind of arguing about whether a glass filled up to the 50% mark is half full or half empty. Then it becomes a matter of perspective. If you're a pessimist, you think it's empty, half empty. If you're an optimist, you think it's half full.
But
And
even
that,
still, you don't believe. This is the ultimate litmus test. And I would like to figure out scientific cause to believe. I would like to be convinced via like rational evidence. I would like there to be good cause to believe in it, not just
not just
believe in
wishful
it for
thinking.
utility. Yeah,
Yeah,
not for
and
just
I think
utilitarian purposes.
yeah, but I think we can, if you want to look at religion, because they're five, you're going to be comparing them. In fact, there's even the subject called comparative religion, right? And I think we can divide religions into the Abrahamic religions and the Eastern religions, and and then we know that the Abrahamic religions are just better at organized violence because imperial religions. So we're not being wishful thinkers by
None of them are enough
coming
for
to this
me.
conclusion.
None of them are good enough.
For what?
They don't have enough explanatory power. I think they all fall short. The stories are stupid. They don't make sense.
Which
They
stories don't make sense?
the ones in the Bible or the Quran or whatever.
Yeah, but the stories are kind of they are necessary to well, I mean, once upon a time, you just needed to tell people stories, and
Sure.
even now we have narratives that we want to fulfill, like our life has meaning. We are going to be successful. You know, We are going to be rich. Our way is correct. That's also a narrative, isn't it? We are right. We are moral. We are not evil. We are not immoral. We are not wrong. Those are also narratives, and all narratives have, good guys and bad guys.
Sure, but which implies that these were stories by men, written down by men, just towards, just like any author does to create fanciful stories
No,
that were
but
then
religion has a
adopted as societal
purpose.
myths.
But everything created, okay, let it be granted that all religions are created, then everything created has a purpose, doesn't it?
Well, no, not necessarily. To be
What can you think of
blunt,
anything created that hasn't got a purpose? Pardon?
to be very crude, yes, I flushed one down the toilet not long ago.
Well, if you're talking about human waste, then the purpose of excreting and urinating is to kind of
Oh,
cleanse
okay.
ourselves. Otherwise, we would probably die of the toxins that would accumulate within us. And we know of people who die when they sort of lose the ability to excrete. So, um, so I guess
But the waste is a byproduct, I would
of
say.
life and energy.
But this is anyway. We're in the weeds here. Let us ask the question: is there any evidence in these texts to support a supernatural origin? And there isn't really.
Well,
So
this is not. You see, you're being an empiricist. You're saying
yes, I
I'm
am.
looking for evidence of God, and scientists would say, well, we don't actually have scientific instruments for detecting God, and they wouldn't even know where to begin. So we can only use deductive reasoning. And, philosophers have said if there is a creation, there must have been a creator. And that creator must have been the Abrahamic God. These are these sort of steps towards God. But as for empiricists, I mean, you know, which is basically finding evidence and data. I guess scientists would say, well, there was a big bang. We've noticed a redshift. The universe is expanding. So we deduce that once upon a time the universe was a singularity, and then it began to expand. So, but then the theists would say, we know what caused the Big Bang. You scientists don't know what caused the Big Bang, but we know who caused the Big Bang.
Yes, and that's just a claim without evidence. Came up with that men came up with. And they even claimed, crazily that back then he would literally speak to them from the clouds. Behold, I am your Lord thy God. Go off and slaughter all the men and women, and leave no animal alive, and also take their wives unto yourselves, and blah 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 blah. Blah. Literally doing this from the clouds. Such nonsense.
Well, some Jews take it seriously. It's to do with the
And then
Amalek,
suddenly he
right?
stopped. Suddenly he stopped doing that and never did it again. I mean, that's a big
Well,
coincidence, isn't it?
well, rabbis have, rationalized. I mean, okay, I've actually spoken to a Jew who was actually concerned about this, Amalekite thing. It's like, yeah, we're religiously obligated to exterminate them, and it's not enough just to, kill the men. We have to kill the women and the children
Mm.
and the cattle. We've got to kill them too, and it's too much, and so they didn't, and then they were told off. But anyway, the interpretation now is like, well, we don't know where they are. Well, I think we have a right to assume that they're extinct, so we're no longer required to perform this terrible deed. And anyway, we couldn't, since we're only 1% of the total human population. And it would be against the law, and blah blah blah. Um, but anyway, you can't actually use the Torah. Well, Gentiles do, because I mean, basically, Christianity is a kind of a cultural appropriation of Jewish scripture, right? This was really what the Romans did. They appropriated Jewish scripture, called it the Old Testament, and tacked on their New Testament onto it. And then the Muslims came along later and said, no, 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 our scripture is final and the best. So these are the competing narratives, but we also know that it's the same God, because there's only one Abrahamic God, and all the stories are kind of tacked on, right? So Islam could be said to be a synthesis of Judaism and Christianity, and we know from these stories. I mean, the stories are the clue to say that it's the same God, because if the Quran talked about some completely different stories to the one in the Torah, and didn't even mention Jesus, then it would be a different God altogether. So, so it's the same God, right? And that makes things very easy for us. So it's like, oh, well, if the same God, then we just have to choose the correct set of laws. And then I guess, anti-Semitism is really quite helpful in making us think that, oh, yeah, these Christians with their global empires, they still complain about the Jews. They still complain about the Jews because, they always think the Jews have, something over them. So in the minds of the Gentiles, they think the Jews are, the first people in receipt of divine revelation, and therefore they've got one over them. And this is the current state of affairs. But okay, there's a YouTube video. I think it's only about 10 minutes long, and apparently Voltaire said that Jews are the evidence that God exists, because the video starts by going on about, oh, well, these Jews, nobody likes them, everybody wants to exterminate them, and they have the hardest religion, and you would have thought, all things being equal, that they would have become extinct by now, because they have the hardest religion and nobody likes them and wants to kill them, but they're still around, so therefore God must protect them. It's that kind of reasoning, really.
Yes, I don't buy any of it. It's
Well, you
all
can't disprove any of it, though, because anti-Semitism is something, that seems eternal, and yeah.
oh, come off it. You're saying you're doing like the anti-Semitism is a virus of the mind or something.
No, I'm just saying it exists, but in the sense that
Come off it. People dislike one another because they dislike the behaviours of other people, and much of it is warranted. People dislike white people for what white people do. They blame us for our form of colonialism and stuff, and we can spend all our eternity going, oh, but we don't deserve. You should
no, but I'm
appreciate
not
us or
even
whatever, instead of just owning it and saying, yes, we had the biggest badass colonialism and we put you to the sword, and we did it in the name of civilization, and we're not sorry about it, but we own it. And the Jews should do the same. Yes, we were
Yeah, I mean,
amazing.
they do say, well, you took our scripture, and you
Yeah, but
twisted
they
it.
should also own the other things. Yes, we're the most wily, we're wily, ingenuitive, great at subversion and infiltrating society. Yes, and we're not sorry about it.
Well, I have a completely different take from that. I mean, it's basically the label God's chosen people, and this gives them this sort of magic quality, and I think causes them to be envied
Envy,
because
resentment,
yeah,
hatred,
you
true,
hate the people
for
you
different
envy.
reasons.
Yeah, because
Well,
envy
people do
incites
envy,
hatred.
you know, yeah, Jews did very well at getting themselves and their families and familial power, familial groups through nepotism and stuff into important places in society and helping each other out, reinforced through their minority status and being forced to have to do this, and over time throughout the years being, it worked in their favor. On the surface it looked bad for them, like pogroms and and being kicked out of different societies, but actually it reinforced this deep inner need to look out for each other, look upon the majority of society as being threats to them, and so to work quietly within upon these edges of society, and this create help them to become dynastic and seek the rungs of power and wealth and things like that, and then in many ways they're resented for that.
Well, only because I think, the mind of the Gentile is sort of focused on, it's like, there they are. Why haven't they converted to our wonderful religion of Christianity or Islam? Why do they still want to be Jewish when they could, and I think that is basically the um the deep rivalry of the Abrahamic religions. That there's a kind of mutual incomprehension. It's like, we obviously have the best religion. Why don't you come on over? There must be something wrong with you, or you must be in some way threatening or treacherous to us if you don't want to, adopt our religion.
Religions are tribal myths
Well,
that were
they
passed
are
down.
necessary for national survival, don't you think? Because everybody has a religion, east or west.
Yeah, but we don't anymore, really.
Well, maybe that's your problem. That
I
is your
get it.
problem.
That's your diagnosis. I get it. I understand that.
Do you reject that diagnosis? Because it's
I
necessary
mean, it's
for group solidarity, isn't it?
but I've said though you just can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, unfortunately.
What
Short
do you
of
mean by that? I mean, our beliefs are being manipulated all the time. The government is
you can't
always
make me
pumping up
believe
propaganda. Mhm.
we're in the information age. We have our
Yeah, but
smartphones. We have
there's so
access to
much,
Chat
and nobody can
GPT.
agree. Nobody can agree on which information is true.
Yeah, but we can agree that the texts of the holy texts, so to speak, are full of holes and obviously written by men and not divinely inspired.
Well, technically, we have about 6 million people in the world. Sorry, 6 billion people. There are 8 billion people in the world.
Mm.
And if you add the Jews, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and Buddhists all together, they add up to over 6 billion people. So technically, um, the, the more people who are supposed to believe in God and the afterlife
It, by the way,
than those who
it's
don't.
why I just had to stop talking to. I didn't have to stop talking to Khalid, but I lost my Telegram account anyway. I'm just kind of glad we did in the end. No offense to the guy, but he's just so one train mind, and I realize what it's like talking to these fucking Muslims who are just unable to connect with reality. They're literally so fucking detached from reality. I'm slapping my forehead here and sticking my tongue in my cheek and making that noise because it just they just can't speak rationally about we were. I can't. Yeah, it
Well, I
really
suppose,
frustrates me
I've been
that
trying
we
to
can't talk
explain
about
to him
science.
that you obviously can't imagine yourself being happy and Muslim. That's a problem.
Who
Not
can't?
well, you can't, and people like you can't. People can't imagine themselves being happy and Muslim. That's why they won't do it. But then, the reasons would be a kind of what's the word, chauvinism and Islamophobia, and I think you also think um, only stupid people believe in God, right? But then I think when white people say that, they think Christians are stupid people. But if you say, well,
No,
Jews believe in God, and they say, oh yeah, Jews are very cunning,
listen,
so
90% of people who believe in God believe in it in like a in a kind of way like I am willing to entertain the idea. There's an almighty unknown origin to life. It's something greater than me. Maybe it's supernatural. Maybe that thing is God or the creator of the simulation, but it's a higher power. It's outside this reality. And I believe in it, and I might even pray to it, and I might even give it a name, and I might even use the mantras given to me as a child, like Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, and then please look after my mother and my father, amen, and all
Mhm.
this. They might do that, but when it comes down to what when you actually look at it, they don't believe in the stories of the Bible. You've even seen this, because if they did, then they wouldn't do half the things that they're doing, because it says in those holy texts alongside the rest of it that you'd be stoned for half the things that you're doing. So they obviously don't believe in it.
But that's the
Actually,
thing.
they just believe
It's
in this
the hypocrisy of
concept.
it.
They just
It's a
believe in the concept. Yeah.
okay. They want to believe that they're going to heaven, right? That's basically it, and they want to think. I mean,
But they break
now,
all the rules. They break all of the rules of the book.
yeah, and now there's something. Well, it was only recently that I discovered this term called antinomianism, which is linked to Calvinism, which is basically also linked to predestination. Like, well, some people are just going to go to hell because it's written in the stars, or something similar like that. And it's like, this is such nonsense. It's like, well, maybe God might know your future, but you don't know. So why would you assume you're going to hell? Because part of the bargain of the story, which I know you don't believe, like the story of Jonah in the whale, and the whale, is that redemption is possible up until the moment of death. So the idea is that if you're genuinely remorseful for all the bad things you've done, you can, um, you know,
But not, particularly not for Muslims and Jews. They're supposed to follow the rules.
well, yeah, there is a process that they have to undergo when they, want to confess their sins and, say they
Yeah.
won't do it again and want to make amends. And, so there is a process that they have to undergo. And Christianity kind of bypasses it because of the um, absolution, which is basically the priest forgiving you on behalf of your victim, right? So let's say you're a murderer and you kill all those people and nobody discovered it, and on your deathbed you ask for the priest to give you the last rites, and you say, I confess I killed all those people, nobody knew, and but I believe Jesus is Lord, and then the priest is supposed to give you absolution, right? I mean, it is a completely corrupt process because, really, the priest has no right to forgive you, a mass murderer, hypothetically, on behalf of, the victims of your murder. So
I,
that's why the Christian process is, really quite corrupt, you know. Because I mean, the Jews like, oh gosh, this is what we have to do. We have to stop doing what the bad thing, and then we have to confess to everyone that we did the bad thing. So no, it's not like, oh, I hope I made a mistake there, but I hope nobody noticed. It's like, yeah, I have to tell everybody, and then I have to say I'm sorry, and I'm not going to do it again. And how can I make it up to you? it's a kind of it is a 4-stage process. So, and you're not going to forget about it once you do all that. So,
But do you get my point? How most people, even the ones here in the chat who are religious or whatever, who think they're religious, they don't actually believe in the
I
religion. They
know
just believe
the
in the
hip,
concept of God.
yeah, which is why
They have a
they've
feeling there's
changed the
something
rules.
supernatural.
Yeah, they want to believe that they're going to go to heaven. So what they're promoting now, as I've discovered in this particular um, YouTube community in America, who are white, Christian, and middle class, is that they're promoting something called moralistic therapeutic deism, which
What?
is which is the belief that everyone has a reasonable chance of getting to heaven, which is what the late Pope Francis was promoting. So, and I sort of
Okay.
remember at the time, the Catholics, the traditional Catholics I knew, they were really angry. It's like, what? And everyone has a reasonable chance of going to heaven. What the whole point, what was,
Mm.
did we, go to extra long, Catholic mass and feel all that Catholic guilt if everyone has a reasonable chance of going to heaven, and this sort of gay marriage thing. So basically, all the rules have been
Mm.
changed and diluted, and
But you
that's
know
what
why, don't you?
because the church was always a creature of the state. So people go, oh, isn't it terrible? Gay marriage. How dare the Church of England and the Catholic Church. It's like, well, that was what the Roman Catholic Church was meant to be from the beginning, to be the kind of propaganda department of the Roman Empire, right? That was what it was all about from the beginning, which I
But
don't think people understand.
I would put forward that what these people are doing is just attempting to accommodate the type of person that I've been describing, which is 99% of people who believe that they are religious and they are whatever strand of religion, and they pray to God, but they don't follow any of the fucking rules because they don't ultimately believe, due to living in the information age and having the faculties of logic and being able to look at it now in all hindsight and understanding, this bullshit really. They look at it and they can't marry the two together. That all this nonsense written down in the text was correct. Was written by God, but also they do cling to this supernatural belief in a higher power, and so they have just like synthesized their own version of the religion that they were brought up in, which is like some form of like nominal or notional Christianity. And so they like in their mind, when they think of what this supernatural being is, they'll give it the name Jesus or the name God and think of it like the God of the Bible, and might even pray to it and ask it to look after their mum and dad and their son or whatever. But all the rest of it they don't follow because they don't truly believe it. Because if they did believe it, then they wouldn't dare do half the things that they're doing right now.
Exactly. So we have the problem of hypocrisy, right? And well, people make all these
But you
jokes
can't
about
make me believe
hypocrisy.
it. You can't make these people. You can't make these. My point is, you can't make these people believe it
No,
in
no, you don't
that
even
not
have to
old
make them believe
nonsense.
it.
So all you can do is water it down and just like give them, like these boomers in America are doing with their stupid, whatever you call it, widespread deist something,
Moralistic,
moralistic
deism.
therapeutic deism. All you can do is water it down and hopefully keep them on the plantation with just like the trappings, of the
Yes,
religion.
yes. So it's basically saying you. you know, it's actually very similar to the olden days when everybody was living under a Christian European monarch,
Mhm.
and they were told to pray to Jesus when they got upset, but obey the law of the land, and that was how it was supposed to work. But um, the Quran has a chapter dedicated to hypocrites, and it basically says hypocrites go to hell, which must be quite alarming if people took it literally, if even Muslims took it literally. So hypocrisy is basically a kind of hidden idolatry, people pretending to believe but not really believing in it. But
Mm.
what I've noticed since the stolen election was that okay, it was actually Conops who gave me, who made it Conops and Jay. So basically, um, the trouble we got into as YouTubers, not allowed to mention that the election was stolen, and
Mhm.
our videos taken down. So we knew we weren't supposed to say that. Therefore, the only way for people like Conops to sort of reconcile the two, because he was kind of pro-Trump, right? And but he didn't want to think that democracy was really a rotten carcass that should be dead and buried. So what he said was that, and that was what the media told him, that there was some fraud in the election, but not enough to swing the election. So a lot of people who were upset at the way Trump might have won in 2020 didn't. So that was the way they kind of reconcile the situation. But the thing is, they had to believe in that narrative that there was fraud, but not enough to swing the election, and then they could feel okay about democracy. But if they
Mm.
really believed it was actually stolen, blatantly from under their noses, they would have
Yes.
to reject the whole idea of representative democracy. And if they did, then they would have to speak out against it, and that would be dangerous to their employment. So they were
Yeah.
happy to.
So here we are with
Help.
people in the information age. You can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle. We've figured out that these stories were largely made up. There might be a narrative strand of truth to them that the people who were writing them were trying their best to convey to the rest of humanity about a higher power, a spiritual power, something beyond that we can't really conceive of, but is a higher power. And we came from something we can't really explain the origin. And they used ideas to convey this, and they anthropomorphized the stories and wrote them down and concocted ideas up. But we now in the information age, we can, check all this stuff and realize it's all nonsense. But people are still.
No, I don't see how you can prove that God doesn't exist even in the information age, because no one alive is
No, you're
supposed
not
to.
proving that God doesn't exist. You're proving that the stories were written by men, either just doing their best or for political purposes.
Yeah, your political purposes. So there is a purpose, right? After all, you have just acknowledged that there is a utility to religion. Otherwise,
Yes,
nobody would
I've
bother with
acknowledged
it.
it every time I've been on your show.
Yeah. So we know there is utility in having a common shared belief system, because otherwise, what has happened to us for not having a common belief system is that we all have our take on things, and we don't agree, and we fight each other. And even the anti-Semites, even the people who hate Jews, they compete with each other, and kind of, but they will never defeat the most powerful narrative of all, which is the one in the Bible, because it is the most ancient and powerful narrative, that is light years ahead of their Jewish conspiracy theories. It's like, well, Jews, they're still around, and they appear to be controlling everything, right? Because this is what people who have a view of Jews think. So it's the narrative that still remains in the minds of people who have a view on these things. And obviously, if we believe these things, we're going to act in a certain way as a result of our belief. You know, hating Jews or wanting to convert to Judaism or
I'm
whatever.
sick and tired of talking about Jews, and I'm going to be having Duvid on, I think, at some point. But I'm
Yeah,
sick
yeah,
and tired of talking.
Um, I'll be having him on too. But what I'm
I'd
saying
be
is,
I'm interested. I'm happy to talk about it with Duvid, but with everybody else, I'm just tired, bored of it.
well, because
Bored
you
of
think he's
it.
authentic to you.
Well, no, he is a Jew.
Well, he's a
Oh,
mamzer.
he spent his life trying to fit in as a Jew, and failed, and that makes him interesting.
No, well, he has a niche in the dissident right because he's the most learned Jew. Because and he's prepared to engage with Gentiles, which makes him
He got
well,
chewed
very
up and
useful.
spat out by Judaism, basically.
Oh yes. So actually, a lot of Jews complain about him, saying, "Well, he's giving Jews a bad name."
Well,
But
he
then,
is. That's what's fascinating about it. I mean, have you ever tuned in to those streams that he goes on with that that nutcase Albert Bishai?
he's the Aunt Sally of Jews, isn't he? That's what David is. The Jew Gentiles love to hate
Well, that
because
Albert Bishai gets him on just to, like, say, "Here we are. We've got our real
oh
Jew
yes,
on here, David.
yeah.
Don't you agree that the Jews are the spawn of Satan?"
And then da da da, and David appears.
And then David will be like, "Well, yeah, blah 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 blah, blah, but that's a good thing."
Yes. Yes, but the thing is, a lot of people don't like me saying that maybe the American empire is more cunning than the Jews because Israel is an American colony and the Americans need to be in Israel because it's the most prestigious colony you could hope to have if you're Christian or Muslim, right? You want to control the Holy Land. It's like your if you're a billionaire, it's your football club, it's your yacht or something. I mean, a yacht these days is sort of not enough, right? You want to waste your money on something even bigger than a yacht, which is a football club. For- Isn't that
Yeah,
the
look.
status symbol these days?
Sorry, what was that?
If you're a billionaire, you your status symbol is to buy a football club, right?
I
Because they're
suppose.
so just to show how wealthy you are. So
I
I'm saying
suppose.
Israel is a kind of status symbol of imperialists.
I don't know about that. I'm just tired of the whole Israel question. I'm just tired of it. I'm not interested.
Well, geopolitics is, kind of going to run and run, don't you think? I mean, Europe is just a little country, and there are things happening now that may not bode well for Europeans.
I am an Atlanticist. I am much more a Richard Spencerite today than I used to be. I'm an Atlanticist.
Did you watch Nick Fuentes on Talking to Richard Spencer?
Yes, I think I did. Most of it.
Well, it seemed a little inconclusive.
In what sense?
Well, I can't really get. Okay, there were pro-Ukraine, pro-America, continuing through the Europeans, prolonging the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, the question I dared to bring up on a stream the other night was, what is the real evil? And people hate me for this. What was the real evil of the neocon project? And you'll love me. You'll love me to come out as a neocon or something, I'm sure. But all these countries in the Middle East are just basket cases. At the end of the day, we're better off for America putting them down and keeping them in order. George Herbert Walker Bush's vision of a new world order, not no longer the law of the jungle. On September the 11th, 1991, I think it was, or 1990. Yeah, anyway, it was September the 11th. Weirdly,
2001, I think.
no. But 10 years before that, he did a speech on television. It's a very famous one where he goes, we're no longer going to have the law of the jungle. It's going to be a new world order. And look, it's messy. It's not exactly perfect. It's disruptive, but we're much better off for that. For the American hegemony to have stamped its foot around that place and prevented it from becoming an absolute basket case. It's still a basket case in many ways, but we're better off in this
Where is the
timeline.
basket case?
Well, like Iraq was a basket case, and Iran's a basket case,
Well,
and
there's only a basket case
Syria's a
after
basket case,
after
Israel's a
America's
basket
invaded
case.
it.
They're all basket cases.
Well, the Middle East is, obviously fought over because of the oil and its importance to Western and rising industrial economies like China, I guess. So people would
Yeah,
be
but there's
finding
two
their way
paths for
forwards.
these countries in the Middle East. There's two avenues, and one is to like play ball. You can maintain your like you can maintain your monarchy if you like and be the tin pot, dictator of your country, as long as you keep your people in line, you join the global economy, you behave, you don't threaten and destabilize the region, you keep your own terrorists in line, and you don't go to war with your neighbors. And that's like the plan for the smart Arab countries, the ones who've recognized that that's a credible pathway to the future, like the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain and even now Saudi Arabia, and or the other path is just to continue with being a fucking basket case where you are in civil strife, you don't put your own terrorists down, you do go to war with your neighbours, you do destabilise the whole region.
So I think Saddam Hussein was known to have proposed selling oil in euros, and I think that was what done him in. Not anything else. I mean, the rest is just
Good.
the stories
Not,
we hear.
yeah, he refused to comply, and he was,
Well, there were no weapons of mass destruction. So basically, Western media, if they fancy it, are going to accuse you of all kinds of things and then invade you, and then
yeah, but he
everybody will
refused to
believe it.
comply, and what a retard. You know, Unlike these other smarter Arab nations who realized, there's two routes to the future. You can comply, behave, get with the plan. We're going into, behave in the global order, or America will put you down. And you can also say, oh, it's not fair. I'd rather have this other timeline. Well, you don't get to have that, unfortunately.
Well, I
And in
mean, the
many
thing is,
ways,
the
we're better off
Americans
for it.
don't. Americans themselves don't agree with the program. I guess that seems to be the
Project
problem.
for a New American Century, like in
Yes,
conspiracy
the
circles and on the right,
the Wolfowitz
yeah, and on the right
doctrine.
wing, it's put forward as like this ghoulish, ghastly conspiracy theory. And I get it, it's wrapped up in Israel's interests too, and many of Jewish architects are behind the plan because it's better for Israel to not have all these basket case countries who are just like building up armies and ready to invade. So they were leading architects of the plan, but we're in the better timeline for it too.
Israel is a good place to try out your latest weaponry. You
I'd
know,
much rather have a United Arab Emirates than a Syria, wouldn't you?
Well, Syria has been destabilized, but then lots of countries have been destabilized because they don't really follow their book properly. You see, and I think
You
the
need a
thing that
school
they don't
bully.
quite who's a school bully?
You need a benevolent school bully. I've told the story before. I used to be the benevolent, not the bully, but I used to be a benevolent, tough kid at school, basically. And that's what the world needs, and the world, and it's never going to be perfect, but it's much better than like China being it, or Russia
Well, I don't
being
think
it.
China has any ambitions to,
Well, if
take
nobody's
over
going to do it,
Israel.
that's even worse. That's worse. That's when you have like half a dozen or more basket cases all fighting
I don't
each other.
see. So you don't want China to take over, and I say China's not taking over, and you say that's worse. Why would that be worse?
The world needs somebody to put down these basket case countries before they uh, cause regional wars.
Well, I don't think they're going to be causing any regional wars because, I guess the Gulf kingdoms are probably happy the way things are, not having, as long as the Gulf kingdoms get to reign. But the problem with these Muslims is that they don't realize that absolute monarchy is not going to help Islamic scholars or judges interpret the Quran properly. Because if you're an absolute monarch, you can very easily imprison, execute any Islamic scholar whose interpretation of the Quran you dislike. And ultimately, if you have that power, you are going to abuse it. I mean, it's obviously happened in you know, to Europeans when, under their absolute monarchs. So, um, you know, it's going to be a problem for them interpreting the Quran properly. So all the crazy stuff and the stupid ways they interpret the Quran is because um, they live under monarchs, absolute monarchs, and Islam was never supposed to support absolute monarchy because even the Muslims talk about the four rightly guided caliphs which came after Muhammad.
Mm.
And in their 1400 years of history, only four caliphs were rightly guided. So all the others were not rightly guided, and that's why that caliphate crashed and burnt. But I don't think even we understand it because, I mean, the reason why the British people, don't have that many rights is because we don't have a constitution. We have this thing called an unwritten constitution, which means they haven't got one at all.
Mm.
And I don't think a lot of people understand that either, you know. So, but then the Americans they're supposed to have their First Amendment, but it's been infringed so much over the decades, and they don't even notice. That this is just so terrible. Because really, when you think about it, affirmative action is infringes the First Amendment. The DEI infringes the First Amendment. You know, they don't seem to notice either
Yeah, but the problem
when
is
these rules are in.
you've got all these black people in America that can't compete, and so you have to look. Here's the unsaid thing again. It comes down to me, SJJ, to point out the obvious to the dissident right spurgs that there's good intention behind the DEI shit. It's not the DEI, the affirmative action shit when it happened. Because, look, you have all these black people who just can't compete in a meritocratic system. And what are you going to do? You have to find some way of getting them employed. Otherwise, they're just going to be running around, shooting each other all day. So you have to get them jobs and, you have to get them into employment. And in order to do this, you have to pad their high school scores and you have to give them a leg up to get into jobs. And so it's actually like, people who acknowledged race differences, crafted affirmative action, ironically, because they recognised that these people can't compete on an even playing field and they need a leg up. And so if you do away with all that, I hope you understand the consequences of that. You're suddenly going to have an entire population of people who suddenly can't compete and therefore can't get employed and are going to be running around completely on food stamps, shooting each other and robbing the whole place.
But more and more people are on food stamps now. You know, the
They are.
Somalians in
And those
Minnesota.
places are absolute shitholes, aren't they? They're crime infested, low income areas of America that you only
Or
want to
just
pass through
intelligent
very
black
quickly
people from
with your
Africa who
doors
know how to
locked.
play the system.
Sorry, say that again.
Or on the ball black people from Africa who know how to play the system and pretend that their kid is autistic and get disability benefit. I mean, it is now an industry. Well, not just in America, but over here as well. You claim disability benefit, and you're in. You're on a cushy number for the rest of your
Yeah.
life.
I was talking to Marco Coletti Spaghetti, friend,
Oh yeah, I heard part
acquaintance,
of that. hmm And
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 he's in a
he's
difficult
trying to
situation.
get himself out of that by doing driving lessons, right? He's going to be
Yes.
a truck driver.
Yeah, but it brought home to me. I don't know if it's truck driving, but it brought home to me the hurdle that you can end up in, where you move out of your parents' house. You're young. You move out. You get a place of your own. You've got to pay rent, and you lose your job, and then you are on the dole, and the government steps in to pay your rent. So then you have to go and get a job. But then if you go and get a job, you'll suddenly have to start paying rent again. And so you're like in this catch-22 in your
The
mind.
welfare trap, as they
Yes, the
call it.
welfare trap. And so this is like a hurdle. And I can fully now appreciate, I hadn't really considered it before, how people get stuck in that space where they're like, it's more dangerous for me to go and get a job here. Because I'll only the income that I'll end up with at the end of the month for going and getting the job and working 40 hours a week is probably only 20 or 30% more than I get from the government, who also pays my rent. So
Yeah,
it's a real
it's
hurdle,
a
but
crazy.
you have to get out of it. Otherwise but so for somebody like Marco Coletti Spaghetti, I would recommend, honestly, if he could, I don't know if it's an option for him, as belittling as it might be, go back and move in with your parents for a couple of years. Go and ask mum if you can come back home, get the job. Then save up that money. Don't spend a penny. Don't spend any money unless you absolutely have to. Save up money, and recognize that you wasted. Here's the hard thing that people like that have to realize: you've wasted 10 years. You've wasted 10 years. So now you're you're going to end up moving out at 35 instead of you'd moved out at 27 or 26. You're going to have to go back home to mum and maybe move out in 5 more years' time after you've saved up money.
Well, that makes sense economically.
Yes.
If he gets on with his parents, I'm sure they kind of appreciate having him around, right?
The only other solution, boys and girls, is to get a girlfriend and split the rent, isn't it? And both go to work. But no girlfriend wants that as a proposal, do they? Hello, I'm looking for somebody to split the rent.
And then have sex with. Yes.
Yes. When they've got plenty of men out there saying, hi, I'm just looking for sex and I've got a house for you to live in rent free.
Yes, apparently lots of landlords can get payment in kind these days from their female tenants. I think there's an expression for it, but I can't remember what it is.
The question on my viewers' lips is, what I don't know if I can ask it. Was millennial was somebody that rhymes with millennial moans paying his landlord in kind?
I'm afraid I don't quite understand your question. Um, are you
The,
asking if millennial was paid as landlord in kind?
yes.
Um, the landlord is heterosexual, so there's no question of that.
Okay. Well, you think, like Vincent would tell you, all the guys that he meets on Grindr have wives, Claire.
I really would not.
Okay.
No, I will have to defend the landlord's honour. I mean, I have met him through.
Okay. Well, why was he renting it? Why was he letting somebody live there rent free?
Well, he wasn't living there rent free.
Well, this is the story on the street.
No,
Correct
no,
it then.
no, he was paying rent.
In that place in London, right in the heart of Westminster, the rent for that place, even if you were living in like a 6 foot by 6 foot room with like a a bedpan to shit in, would have been absolutely enormous. He was at least getting extremely favourable rates, surely.
Yes, because the landlord was himself a nationalist.
So that begs the question: what did he do? Did he just love Millennial Rose's work?
Oh, I think he felt he, should give a safe space for,
Wow,
nationalists.
wow,
Yes.
interesting.
Well, I met him through David Irving talk. So
Anyway, I'm just relaying the rumors on the street. I don't start them; they just enter my inbox. People just like drop me
yeah,
these rumors.
happy to clear it up. But I would
The Nazi house, as it's colloquially known. You can live in Westminster for £700 to £800 per month. Is that true? In a shithole in Westminster for £700 to £800 per month. I find that hard to believe.
well, I don't know the amount of rent actually paid, but well, nobody lived there rent free. But obviously the landlord was what's a word I'm thinking of a
He was a Muslim convert. We know this. This is all public information, by the way.
yes. So he was supportive of you know providing a safe space for you know the members of the dissident right.
Fascinating.
Yes.
You sound very coy. It's like you just want to tell me more, but you daren't for some reason. You just want to spill your guts about things that you know. Don't you?
Well, I mean, I
What
regard
gossip are
myself
you
as
holding back, Claire? You've got a captive audience here. Just let it all out. Come on.
no. I'm not going to spill the beans like I mean, I've already explained the situation to you. Obviously it's been there for a while, and maybe a few other nationalists have you know been there from being given offered shelter from you know
The Nazi halfway house. Yeah. The the Hall of Holocaust deniers.
I just don't think it's fair to call think any. Okay, Holocaust denial is people saying, what does it even mean? It doesn't mean people saying no Jews were hurt by the Nazis. What it means is you can't say a certain number that you're not that they never tell you, because I always say what number is Holocaust denial, and I always get a silence.
Yeah.
So that's what Nick Griffin says. Exactly 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust, no more and no less. So that's what Nick Griffin says. So he's obviously making a point of mocking the number.
What did you think to how Nick Fuentes dealt with it on that show with that boomer? What show did he go? No,
Nick Fuentes. Which boomer was he talking to?
the English guy. I've forgotten his name.
Oh, Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan.
I didn't
Did you
watch
see
all
that?
of it. I watched some of it. So
Well, Piers Morgan played clips of Nick Fuentes, things Nick Fuentes has said. It was like a gotcha setup into, ambush interview. But and obviously Nick Fuentes, who I'm no fan of, by the way. But Nick Fuentes' whole shtick is there's like hundreds of hours of the most outrageous things that he said. So you can just pull up outrageous statements that he says for performative purposes. But he pulled some stuff up about the Holocaust, the cookie monster, the baking the cookies joke. And Nick Fuentes' answer was, oh, I don't deny the Holocaust. And so Piers Morgan goes, so let me get it on record then. You believe that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. And I want you to be absolutely clear, because people do accuse you of being a Holocaust denier. And Nick Fuentes said, actually, I think it could be more like 10 million. And Piers Morgan said, I just don't think it's I just think people will see right through you that you're making fun of that event. And Nick Fuentes said, why is it? Is it what's wrong with that? Why is it? Is it too soon?
yes, and apparently it's now called the Holly. Did you know that? That's a sort of.
I've seen that going around.
The Holly.
Yes.
But yeah, yes, and I somebody said on X, I never knew anti-Semitism would go mainstream. So, but perhaps it always was.
Yeah, but then Israel started bombing babies, so they brought it largely upon themselves. I mean, their PR is through the toilet, isn't it?
Okay, maybe you don't know my latest take on Israel. Right, I know you don't want to talk about it, but I'm just saying, okay, Jews are a very simple, credulous people who are basically being made to take the flag for US foreign policy, and the too naive and innocent to realize it, because basically the British have had their eye on Israel since Victorian times, and they even created a religion called British Israelism. And I only discovered that through my connections in the dissident right, because I know two British Israelites, and they're different from ordinary Christians because they go on about the Old Testament. And if you're interested, you can look up Wikipedia under British Israelism, and it's basically a religion, a pseudo-ethno-religion to try to get these British people, after Britain was granted the Palestine Mandate after World War One, to go and people it, because the whole idea is to make these British people think that one of the lost tribes of Israel, and they should bloody well go there and defend Israel against the horrible Arabs there. But then, because Britain didn't manage to hold on to Israel for very long, because it lost its colonies after World War II, the Americans came and took over, and basically thought, well, no, no, we don't need to, get get Gentiles thinking the Jews to go there. We'll get the Jews themselves to go there and people our colony in Israel. And this is what they've done. I mean, a lot of American Jews have joined, the Navy and become, um, you know, um, yes. So they joined the army, they joined the Navy, and they go and fight for Israel, thinking they are being Jews for doing that. But if God exists, then I guess God wouldn't be happy with gay parades in Tel Aviv, because basically Israel is takes on a lot of the character of America, of liberal. Well, it's a liberal democracy. You ask any British MP, why Britain, the British should support it, and instantly the answer is it's the only liberal democracy in the Middle East. Like it just justified everything. Because it's a liberal democracy, we have to support it because we're a liberal democracy too, which means liberal democracy is our religion. It's our real religion. We're not Anglicans or anything like that.
Good.
And now
I
we
believe
have
in liberal
more fundamental.
democracy, though, now. I believe in it. I think the franchise should be reduced, but I fundamentally believe in it. I don't want to go back to a tin pot dictator. I am not for authoritarianism. The Englishman wants to be free. So I'm sorry, I'm not an authoritarian. I won't go back to it. We fought for our freedom. Yes, the franchise should be reduced. Probably only people who pay taxes, maybe only homeowners, perhaps even just people who have children. I'd be happy with that and giving up my right to vote. People with skin in the game. But then again, there are a lot of Muslims with lots of kids, so maybe that wouldn't work either. But I don't know, somebody else can figure it all out. But yes, the populace have to have a right to decide. They have to have a say in affairs. We're not Asians who can just be dictated to by a Borg queen like in China. That's no good to us. And we're not Muslims, so we don't just need a caliphate.
Well, the thing is, the British submitted to lockdown. That is, something that we should bear in mind. And families are broken because they're arguing still about lockdown, which was years ago, and then they're not over it.
But unfortunately, they were convinced of the merits of it.
Well, I think, okay, going back to our original discussion about theology, I think the reason why so many people so easily submitted to lockdown was precisely because they were atheists. That was why they were able to be made to clap like seals on, was it Wednesday at 8 or Thursday at 8? I forget which day now. Do you remember? To clap for the NHS?
I can't remember, but I remember it happening. It was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
wild phenomenon. My
Yeah,
neighbour
and
next
that was
door
a
would.
religious ritual.
My neighbour used to lean out of his back door and bang a frying pan with a spoon.
So if you think we have any freedom left in this country, or that people can't easily be manipulated in doing crazy things. I mean, I heard my neighbour, clap. I couldn't.
Yeah, my neighbour with this frying pan and spoon, bang, 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 and then some people would let off fireworks.
Yeah, and I think it's
All
because
while the nurses were dancing on TikTok, by the way.
yeah, and it came from China. I mean, talking about China, the whole lockdown it started in China, and I still remember Boris Johnson taking on his funereal tone, saying we have to be brave, we have to, take it on the chin, losing loved ones, blah blah blah. And I thought, oh well, he's been sensible about it. And the next day he said lockdown for everyone. And we all went along with it because I guess we fundamentally we're atheists, and that's why we worship the NHS, because we think the NHS can prevent us from dying for a bit longer. But if we thought, oh well, we've had our innings, we're going to die anyway, and one of the things I looked up during lockdown was the bubonic plague, and because I was thinking these Europeans have lived through the bubonic plague, why are they submitting to lockdown? So there was a kind of attitude that they took towards a plague, and it was you can look upon getting the plague as punishment, or you can look at it as being hurried to heaven by God. So, depending on your state of mind, there are two ways of looking at it. And the more philosophical way, I guess, is the people who believe in the afterlife. So I'm saying, if most of us did believe in God and the afterlife, we would have just told them to fuck off about lockdown. But since most of us are atheists anyway, we didn't. And that's our punishment. A ruined economy and, families still not speaking to each other because of a disagreement over lockdown.
Yeah, it was a crazy thing. Claire, I've got a video I want you to react
Go on.
to. I'm sharing it. You're going to love this. I know this one's going to get... In fact, I want you to get close to the microphone because I just want to hear your natural reaction to this. Okay. I think it's going to be... Here we go.
Work.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to turn that page and move on,
So now this new page, are you looking for a wife, or what are you doing now?
No. If it falls in my lap, it falls in my lap.
Yeah.
If God gives me it. But I've kind of talked to you a little bit about this. Like, I don't necessarily, want it right now. Like, I want to set my life up. I want to become the man that I need to be for my future wife before I get her. Like, I want to financially set myself up. I want to be great relationship with Jesus, so I can reflect Jesus' love onto her. Because there were definitely things that I did wrong too in relationships. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not perfect by any means.
I thought you'd let out a yelp when you heard him say that.
Well, it's kind of you, isn't it? But without the Jesus. Isn't that you? Without the Jesus.
Yeah, but I just mean how these people are so indoctrinated. What does this even mean? I want to reflect Jesus' love onto my wife. What does
Well,
that
they do
even
talk
mean?
nonsense, these Christians.
I want to financially set myself up. I want to be great relationship with Jesus, so I can reflect Jesus' love onto her. Because
Oh yes, that makes perfect sense. Anyway, I thought that would melt you and you'd start steaming or something.
No, I just get so cross now. Okay, I'm agnostic, but all this, I met Jesus because I saw a man in his, early 30s with a beard that I think could be Jesus. It really just annoys the crap out of me, really. But I mean, I think that's a problem with idolatry. You get all these people who do think that they met Jesus because they saw a man with a beard. In
Michael
their
Delabrock.
lowest moments.
Michael
Sorry?
Delabrock Michael Delabrock in chat is asking, did you enjoy the Count Dankula comedy show? What's that about? You had Michael's friend Black Pigeon Speaks on your channel the other day, didn't you?
Yes. Maybe Michael Delabrock was at this Polish club where there was Count Dankula and this American comedian. I think Louis Schaffer and the Italian guy. Three comedians. This was quite soon after the Charlie Kirk assassination. So yeah, I was there.
You get around. I couldn't have been there. I live in Belarus. I just heard you were there via the grapevine. Michael Delabrock has his ears and eyes to the word on the street, Claire.
Yes. So yeah, I was there. but I thought the atmosphere was kind of, very, very, well, some guy cancelled, like some comedian. There was meant to be four of them, and he cancelled. And I remember thinking, was it something to do with the Charlie Kirk assassination? Like, and I sort of thought, oh, sounds like you're all really scared that you're going to suddenly cancel in case you know.
And did you enjoy it?
Um, okay, what happened was there were so few women that the few of us, we were pushed to the front, to I guess reassure the performers on stage that there were women in the show. That was what that was down to us. The audience was kind of middle class, and which maybe was quite maybe yes reassuring, I guess. But the music was okay. During the interval, they played a lot of, like, it sounded like AC/DC music, so you couldn't even really have a good chat. But I think the idea was to drive you to the bar to, buy another drink. So maybe that was how it was planned. So you couldn't, even have a good natter with people, that you might just meet there. But,
And was this another Nazi meetup?
I don't think so. I mean, there are lots of people who are not happy with the situation.
Did you all go back to the Nazi house for a few drinks after?
Well, not me.
Oh, right.
But but Black Pigeon was there.
Oh, right. Oh, was he?
That was what.
Is that how you met him or not? Oh, no, you had him on
Well,
the show
I heard it through him.
weeks ago.
He was tweeting about it. That was how I knew about it.
Oh, right. Very good.
Yes. Are you working tomorrow?
No, I'm not. I've got a problem with my car.
Oh no. What's wrong with
But
it?
I wasn't working anyway. I'm not sure what the problem is, but I'm getting it checked out tomorrow, hopefully. So, but yeah, I don't have tomorrow off, but I'll be working New Year's Day instead. So you either at our place, you pick. If you don't work one of the major holidays, you work like one of the others. So we like share them
You get
around.
double time, do you, on New Year's Day?
You get double. It's not double. You get time off in lieu, if that makes sense.
Oh right.
Or
So
you can
they're
pay.
treating you like an employee now.
Oh no, I'm talking about my normie job. I have a normie job, and I do delivering work.
Oh right. Two jobs, Stephen.
It's more like 4 jobs even, because
Oh.
I have my normie job. I'm a lifeguard at a pool. It's nothing fancy, but that's what I do. And then I have on my phone Amazon app, Uber Eats, Just Eat, and Deliveroo, and I smash all the apps at once. So that's technically 5 jobs, isn't it?
Did you ever watch something called a sitcom, an American sitcom called Everybody Hates Chris?
No,
Does it ring a bell?
I don't think so.
So it's a comedy about the black family. Chris is a black boy who goes to a white school and is quite bright, and the joke was that his mother is always boasting about her husband. My husband has 2 jobs, and therefore we're better than you, other black person whose husband doesn't quite have quite as many jobs as her husband. Sorry, I was maybe nobody gets the joke these days. But it shows,
Michael's
dedication and industry. Yeah, that's what I'm
yeah.
trying to say.
Michael says the Nazi comedy show in a Polish centre with a Jewish comedian on stage. Well, that's the natural place for a Nazi comedy show, isn't it? All the big, isn't it crazy how all the neo Nazis in like the dissident right on the alt right and that all ended up either having Jewish wives or being half Jews themselves. It's a fascinating phenomenon.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I sort of knew this anti-Semitic Irishman, and I was thinking, why? And then I realised all his girlfriends were Jewesses because he was living in New York. So I think that might be a reason. So the Jewish prohibition against marrying Gentile wives is like, when your relationship doesn't work and you get divorced, you'll get the tribe hated even more. That might be one of the problems. So Michael Dillabrock persists in asking me, did I enjoy it? I can't remember any particular joke. I was just telling you what I remember of the atmosphere of fear after the Charlie Kirk assassination. I don't remember any jokes that were particularly memorable. The Italian guy whose name I can't remember was probably the best speaker. Louis Schaffer was maybe not that funny, but he's got a YouTube channel if you want to check it out. Yeah. That's all I can remember. Jokes wise, I mean, it wasn't, as far as I'm concerned, a kind of political meeting. But I mean, comedy wise, maybe it's not for everyone. And the
Share my
fact that there was
screen.
13 women was a problem. Pardon?
Share my screen. I'm just sharing a Colin Liddell article from his Substack here, where he says, like, look, did you actually have to be Jewish to work at the Daily Stormer? And it's funny that, like, there's another guy who used to write all these, like, really anti-Semitic articles under sock puppet names and turned out to literally be a cartoon Jew. It's crazy. Born in 1968 and looking about as Jewish as the bastard love child of Henry Kissinger and Barbara Streisand, and Sykes had an interesting backstory. In the mid-2000s, he was the editor of 100% Homegirls, a porn magazine published by Australian Consolidated Press. He was already displaying Jewish Nazi tendencies then. And then he went on to write neo-Nazi articles at the Daily Storm. You can't make it up. It's a fascinating phenomenon.
Well, people do fetishize Jewish identity, So I guess the more stuff goes on in Israel, the more people will do that, and I think it's actually a very clever way of dividing and ruling Americans, who want to discuss American foreign policy. So instead of actually saying, do we need to spend all that money in Israel, it will be accusing each other of being Nazis and denying that they're Nazis.
I think these people really
nothing
believe
concrete
it.
actually gets discussed. Pardon?
I think these people really believe it. It's like an internal tension within themselves, especially if you're half Jewish like Duvid. It's like the two halves of your mind go to war against each other, and it's spat out in either doubling down, becoming like 200% Jew like Duvid, or like a neo-Nazi like that guy. But Michael Dillabrock, I think I see what he's getting at now.
Oh,
he's asking
if I would
think
recommend.
Michael Dillabrock organised the show, and so he's looking for
Am
a
I going to be
recommendation.
invited or not? Then I'll recommend it. If I'm part of the show.
So Claire is for sale, Michael. She her price is an invite. No, he lives in Belarus. He couldn't organise the show.
Well, I mean, as I said, obviously you're going to go if well, I mean, Black Pigeon Speaks was a kind of attraction, right? If you wanted to meet him, if you were a fanboy, um, and of course it's a get together for like-minded people. So yeah, I went for those reasons.
And who invited you?
I actually
Invited
learnt about it
yourself.
from a tweet from Black Pigeon.
So you invited yourself.
Yeah. I mean, at some level, you have to meet people, in real life, right?
Yeah.
So I met Count Dankula, and but the dog is dead. The dog that raised
Oh,
it in
really?
Ukraine.
Well, it
Yeah.
has been a long time, hasn't it?
Yes. Yes. Time rolls on.
Yeah. Same for mine. He's gone to the
And he's broken
ballpark
up
in
with
the
his
sky.
girlfriend.
Oh, really? They had kids together.
Did they? Okay.
I
Oh, we've
thought
got to the
so.
100 viewer mark. Thank you, 100 live viewers. I knew if we kept talking, we'd get more people viewing.
What, on Twitter?
No, here on this live stream with me, we now have 100 viewers.
We don't.
Now it's gone back to 99. So that was nice. That was nice.
We do
The
not have
question is,
100
George
live
going to be
viewers.
on Koraniyule?
We have
Now,
18 live viewers.
it's now 101, but perhaps we should go back to talking about Koraniyule. So George has been on SJJ Maths, hasn't he?
Yes, he came on.
Did you discuss anything interesting? He's very woo woo. I get impatient with him. It's like, come on, please talk. Say something of substance. But I think he makes a point of not doing it. Has he changed?
Well, look, I think we had a good discussion. We talked about the scene. He's bored with the politics. He's bored with the politics, and he's probably bored, with whatever. So you have to get people talking about whatever they want to talk about, whatever they're interested in now. That's tactic, isn't it? A good topic to always talk about is just talking about the movement in itself and how you feel about it and your place within it. And, so George and I talked about the state of, in quotes, the movement, where the dissident right is today. The fact that, it's this demoralised dog shit movement, and most
Are you prepared
people...
to endorse me as leader? If not, who are you going to endorse? I know you're going to say no, but
Who, me? Am I prepared to
yeah.
endorse you as...
I mean,
Yes, 100%. I endorse Claire Core
as
as
thought
leader.
leader of the dissident right, you will
Yes.
really?
Yes, I do it here and now.
Oh, oh
I, SJJ, hereby endorse Claire Core as leader of the dissident right.
Hallelujah! Thank you.
Okay,
I'll
everyone?
have to clip that.
You can have her.
You need some kind of leader. So what has Nick Griffin been saying? I I think he's just sort of stirring up apathy. I don't know if you listen to him. He's on Substack.
No, I don't listen to Nick
Well,
Griffin.
I think he's very demoralizing. It's like he used to say, move to the country and have lots of babies, or move to Eastern Europe. Like, of course, they're not going to do that. Why would you move to Eastern Europe?
He's just on the Kremlin payroll. That's all it is.
Yeah,
A bit
so
like
so
Michael
Nick
wants to
Griffin
be.
recently spoke. What?
A bit like Michael Dillabrock wants to be. But Nick Griffin legitimately is. I mean, long track record of it. You just pump out pro-Russian propaganda and do the pro-Russian circuit, and you get benefactors, and we know the game.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily that he's even getting, any endorsement. It's just that it's so
No, I think
demoralizing.
he
He might
is.
as well not say anything because I remember when, I can't remember. There was some guy with a YouTube channel, and he was living in Spain, oh gosh, it's that place that wants to become independent. Where's that place in Spain? I forget now.
Catalonia.
That's right. That's right. Or somewhere similar. So Nick Griffin arrived on his channel and said all those things, and this guy said, no, I can't accept that, because it's too demoralizing for words. And I was thinking, you can't just tell people to, do things that they can't do, you know. So what I'm saying is that what I'm doing is, I'm only going to ask people to do things they can easily do, which is to discuss secular Quranism, not in even in a positive way, but it's like, what else but SK would solve our problems? What else would get, white people breeding again? But slut shaming and taking marriage seriously and abolishing no fault divorce and, blah, blah, blah. And what was religion even made for if not to frighten men and women into marrying each other and becoming responsible married parents? That's the whole purpose of religion. It's a breeding program, a child protection scheme, which I guess in the last 50 years, Westerners have decided not to bother with, and this is the consequence. Decline, degeneracy.
Well, as official leader now, with the crown of the dissident right, I hope you're going to go and let everybody know, let Millennial Woes know, let Academic Agent know that you are now the official leader of the dissident right, and let them all know how it's going to be.
Yes. So with regard to AA, his big plan is to parent his daughter called AAA, who will, in time, have grandchildren who will overthrow the current regime. That's his big idea. And I guess because it's not at all threatening to the current political establishment, he's allowed to exist and write books and give lectures and sell his courses. So so he's controlled opposition. He knows about secular Quranism. He won't discuss it, probably because he's told not to do so. So
Well, Academic Agent believed, and quite rightly probably, in the end, probably the best, probably at the time I thought, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing to cancel your main show where you do the get together once a week where everybody on the distant right, all the people that you've helped create, get together and do this show about the news, about the things of the week, and he just chose to give it up and walk away from it. But really that was because it's like a class thing. He got too big for his boots.
yes,
He feels he's above these people now. He doesn't want to be seen associating with the peasants. And so he sees himself more in the line of legitimately like the Jordan Petersons and these people, these higher up thought leaders, these social media content creators. This is what Academic Agent thinks of himself. And he must have looked around and thought, why am I hanging around, bumping along at the bottom with these people? I'm not going to do it anymore. And so he decided to do this more polished, well, it's not really polished, but rebrand his show and just do it by himself, and therefore have full editorial control over what he does.
well, before he didn't, and now he does. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, now he does. He doesn't do shows with anyone else anymore. He doesn't have guests anymore.
Oh, but I mean, I thought they were pretty hopeless anyway. The ones he
If you
did. I
have
mean, they were
guests,
so annoying.
if you have guests, nobody can contradict you. So you get to just huff your own farts, pump out your material, and you curate an audience of simps and, you know, brain dead followers who just lap up your every word, and no matter what, type under your video, oh, I loved this one, AA, this one was absolutely on the nose, I also agree that we are riding the tiger, wonderful work, thank you, I will buy a mug at the end of the month, all this bullshit. That's the audience that he wants, and that's what he's got, and he
Did he
serves up his audience
fall out
slop.
with his? Did he fall out with his guests or something?
No, he didn't fall out with them. He just quit. He's ended the show because, like I say, he came to the conclusion he was above it all, above these people. He didn't want to hang out with the plebs anymore.
Well, they weren't exactly plebeian. I mean, they were quite middle class. I mean, I thought the whole thing was like, we are middle class and we're
They
not going to
were
say anything that would get us into trouble because we're educated and we know how to dance around words, unlike the plebs.
middle class, but without online status. It's a status game online, and you are the people that you are viewed as being in the same status category as the people that you hang around with. So, you hang around with the people bumping along at the bottom, and that's the class that people view you in. Or you do what like Academic Agent done now, and he just goes on an occasional show with a big person in a studio because he's decided to rebrand himself as that figure.
He was on with Caleb Morpin recently. So I wonder what that's about.
It's because in his heart of heart, he was never right wing. He's actually an asball, really, isn't he? Like a neo Bolshevik.
Isn't that right, Wing? I mean, I thought Richard Spencer was a Nazbol.
No, it's not. It's an authoritarian. It's just an authoritarian who hates women, really.
Are you what AA? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying? I'm not.
yes. He's
Well,
he's
he's
half
got a wife.
Iranian. Yeah, he hates her, and I mean, allegedly, not. I mean, he bought a second house just to get away from his wife and kid for half the week.
Oh,
You have no idea what Nazbolism, says Michael Dillabert. Why don't you fill us in, bro? I have it on good authority that Alison Chasblas is Colin's handler and tells him not to give any publicity to secular Quranism.
no, I don't think Alison's like that. I think Colin won't discuss secular Quranism because he knows it would alienate his audience. And the problem I have with him is that he just gives his audience what he thinks they want, and he never challenges them because he doesn't want to, lose viewers and subscribers. Isn't that what you have also said about him?
Sorry, I was reading the chat. That's very rude of me. What did you say?
I said that the problem with Colin Millennial Woes is that he doesn't particularly want to challenge his audience. So that's why we get, for the fifth year running, Gregory Lord of Frost saying, why, oh, why, oh, why do we let them come? And why, oh, why is no one doing, it's like it's the same old rant. And, they're not kind of, thinking things through properly, in my view, because they're not allowed to think of solutions. They're only allowed to complain, and it is safer to complain than to propose solutions. So I think this is really his kind of long-term strategy, because I still remember the time when he said because of the success of my YouTube channel, I'm no longer depressed. But should I pretend to be depressed to, get the people who are depressed to keep viewing? So that
No,
was
I
what he
think
actually
Millennial
said.
Woes is depressed 100%. He's the absolute case of a demoralized entity who has been online for so long, waking up and like checking the rapes every day and then writing articles about it. So much so that you wake up utterly demoralized and you think that you are changing things for the better by just telling everybody how bad everything truly is and wanking about it day in, day out, literally jerking each other off about how bad everything has gotten and that somehow this will change things for the better. But yes, AA is, and that's not a description, Michael. National Bolshevism, obviously, yes, Nazbol, that's in the thing. What I said AA is, he's a typical, like, Middle Eastern authoritarian. He idolizes Stalin. He hates women, or he just wants to have the heel over women. Idolizes Stalin because he was a like murderous dictator who put down the poors, put down the people who he didn't like, um, and yeah, that's AA for you.
Well, the thing is, he's not proposing anything that sounds like it could solve anything, as far as I know. It seems to me that he, says vaguely anti-Semitic things because he knows that is what the audience wants. So that's the impression I get of him. I don't, pretend to listen to him
No, he just
all the
hates
time.
Jews because he's
I also,
Iranian.
well, the thing is, I think his grandmother's a Jew because he used a Jewish phrase to say, "Oh, my mother, she was talking about the ayin hara," which is the Hebrew for evil eye. So
It's
maybe he
possible.
doesn't like his grandmother or something. Um, but I
It's
guess if you want to
possible.
be
The
to be
one video that he
self-interested, right?
demanded,
Yeah.
the one video he demanded that I take down, otherwise he'd sue me, was when I made a joke that he looked like Vladimir Zelensky, and I put up a picture of Zelensky and him on the same thumbnail, and I did this skit where I said, look, academic agent needs to show us his 23andMe because, look, he's a self-hating Jew, yeah. That was my joke. And he lost it and demanded I take the video down.
Yes, that seems
Suspicious.
very petulant.
Or the more charitable reading of it is just as an Iranian, they are naturally antagonistic with Israel. And so he sees Israel and the perfidious Jews as his ultimate enemies. And so it just comes from that, his natural ethnos expressing itself within his politics.
Actually, this makes me think of Jen Scharf, who, she once sort of went, "Oh, you mustn't call me a Jewess." I said, "But people call you that because maybe you kind of look a bit Jewish." I said, "Oh no, you
And you
could
have
get
a,
me
a Jewish
killed just by
surname.
saying that." And on she went. But maybe they're just kind of freaking out over this the slightest thing you say just to
I
get
actually think
attention
that
maybe.
Duvid, I hope he's not listening. I've said this publicly before though, but I actually think that Duvid did for about 3 years literally believe that she was the heiress to the Scharf billionaire legacy.
Well, they're going to be streaming together on the 28th of December on Duvid's channel. This is if anyone's interested.
She's insufferable.
Well, she was quite comical in a way. I mean, I think some of them, my best dreams have been with her because she is so crazy and so um, triggered by so many things, and I mean, she does say sometimes quite comical things. Anyway, Mm.
Yeah. Well, I won't be tuning in because I find her insufferable. I'll just be blunt about it now. She takes herself seriously. She must have a literal mental illness, whether it's schizophrenia or what, I don't know. But she does literally believe that she is the most. What was it? She literally believes she is the greatest scientist on Earth or ever in the history of the Earth. One of the two, and she's without a single published paper or anything.
And people would
And
keep asking, and
and she
yes.
says that's because you can't trust it. You can't trust the peer review or something like that.
Or who needs
So
peer review
who needs
anyway?
it? Yeah, I'm above
No.
it. You're asking I, the greatest scientific mind on earth, to be reviewed by my peers? I
Are
have
you
no peers.
stupid or something? If you don't understand what I'm saying, it means you're stupid.
There are no peers on my level.
Those were the days.
Right, Claire, we've done 2.5 hours.
Yes. Yes,
I
we've
think it's
done well.
been a show.
Yes.
Okay, everybody. I think this will be me retiring. I endorse Claire Core as your leader. Please do
Hallelujah.
exactly as she says.
I'm puffing my
Okay.
chest out and thinking of my next move.
Yes.
Thank you
All
for
right,
your
Claire.
endorsement. I will make the most of it.
Very good. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, one and
I think
all.
we might speak before the new year. We'll see. Okay. Have a good one,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you for
All right.
coming. Bye,
Good night.
everyone.